Hey, good afternoon. Good to see you. You know, been thinking about something lately for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I have to give a talk in a couple of weeks or a week or so to talk about um, what it takes to create change, what it takes to really do something different in the coaching space, in the personal development space, or even in the leadership space. Like I think about the times when I've been in leadership positions and led 10 or 50 or 100 or 200 or more people in companies and departments or in smaller groups. And sometimes it used to be that leadership was just, okay, we got to keep things going. It's going okay, and we got to keep going. Or there would be, well, we need to improve this area. Sales aren't going well, or employee turnover is high, or morale isn't good, or we're doing something new and it's hard, or the industry is changing, or the company just had a real setback or something like that. Those are different leadership challenges. More and more today in 2026, leadership is changing very dramatically because what people, as an average, and I'm generalizing, but individuals expect or desire, either one, something from the work they do. And that's new in the last 10 or 20 years. Not new in your heart, like you always wanted your work to matter, but it used to be that you got a job, you hoped you get a better one, and then there was some loyalty and you stayed on for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, right? I remember that old song, I don't want no gold watch for working 50 years from 9 to 5. The words of that song came out of somewhere, right? You worked a long time and got a pension and then retired, and that was sort of what you did. That's gone. There may be a few things, remnants of that left, but it's gone because the world is changing so fast and because loyalty has evaporated. Now, what causes loyalty? I guess that would be a whole conversation in and of itself. But when you think about the rise of the internet marketing, and the technology that allows me even to do this live and send it to 10 places, or you to see it in, whatever platform you're watching on, that technology is extraordinary. And it's changing faster than we can even imagine. And in the last few years, year or two especially, I know what was going on before that, there's the rise of artificial intelligence, which is we haven't, truthfully, I think we haven't even begun to see the scope of that change. It's going to redefine work. It's going to redefine all of things, lots of areas of life, lots of verticals in the labor market and work, but it's also going to define things differently in our own lives. Heck, my wife, she'll take a picture in the pantry and upload it to one of the LLMs and then say, I want to make an Italian meal. And if the picture doesn't show everything, then she'll say a little bit more about things that we have, maybe in the fridge instead of the pantry or whatever. And, 3 or 4 recipes will spit out that are good, fun, and can be made with what we've got. Now, to me, I'm not a cook. I know how to cook a few things, but I certainly am not a cook. And I didn't know Joy was such a good cook either. That was a bonus that I got. If you know the story about how Joy and I got together, there was a lot that I didn't know and a lot she didn't know about each other. But the circumstances of our coming together were extraordinary, divinely appointed. And so all that stuff that you might normally ask or think about is just became afterthoughts. But anyway, with the advance of technology, somebody told me yesterday in one of the interviews I conducted that there was a well-known, well-respected person working in the computer world and AI and that sort of thing, that the singularity is going to be here in 2030 or sooner. That's only 3.5 years. The singularity is a name, a word that means that AI is self-generating its learning, and it's going to be smarter than we are, and then after that, exponential, and there's no hope of catching up. And of course, that gives gives rise to the thoughts of Skynet and bots and all the rest. That isn't even what I want to talk about today. That's just groundwork. When stuff changes as fast as it is, we've got a lot of discontent in the United States. Now, I live in Canada, but we're the northern neighbor, and so we see it a lot. And Joy and I are both dual national. We've lived in the U.S., we've lived in Canada, and we go back and forth regularly, so we pay attention. And the World Cup right now has made it fun, the host nation. Canada had a spectacular game yesterday, and the U.S. had a great game today, and so it's fun. And Mexico's doing really well also, 2 wins. So the 3 host nations are just like right on top, and I love that for all 3 of them. My point in just, having a little conversation about what's going on in the world is this. All of that activity can make the ground feel unstable. It can make us not certain what to do, or scary. Work is scary. Am I going to keep a job, or is my business going to do okay? There are far more business owners, entrepreneurs now than there have ever been. More and more people are leaving structured employment to start their own business, and it's easier today to do that than it's ever been because of technology, AI, and the internet, and all the rest. Markets are easier to access. There's certainly some challenges that come with that. Quality has to go way up. The bar is way higher. In the coaching world, I think coaches are in trouble unless they change who they're being. I wrote this book, Coaching and the Rise of AI, a year ago. I started it a year ago, a little more. Published it last November, 7 or 8 months ago, and I predict in the book that 95% of coaches won't be able to make a living by this Christmas. Not far away, just 5 months from now. End of June, July, August, September, October, November, 6 months from now. So if you're a coach or a consultant, you're in trouble. And you don't have to be. But what has passed for coaching and consulting is in trouble. And so that's something to think about. If you're interested in what I thought is happening and what I think we can do about it, you can get the book. But this isn't a sales call. It's just a conversation about this. So the bottom line for all this upheaval is that it drives change. Change in our attitude, change in our actions, change in what we need for skill sets. And at the same time, it requires some things that don't change. There are some fundamental things that need to change or must change, or we're going to get left behind, like in the coaching world and other industries too. I just examined that because I am one coach. And then it makes more important the fundamental things that don't change. So let me give you an example. The needs and desires of human beings haven't changed ever. We want to love, we want to matter, we want to have meaning in our lives, we want to feel safe, we want to have enough, and we want to add good to the world. There's a desire in our hearts to do things that matter. But sometimes life experience drives that in negative directions, and the world is also full of greed, sadness, cruelty, pain, and lots of other things. But today isn't even about that. All of that is the groundwork for this. Change is important. Yet most people do not know how to create change. Meaningful, long-term, sustainable change. Mostly it's a Band-Aid approach where we do what's necessary right this second to get the water level far enough below the nose so we can breathe for another minute. That isn't a long-term strategy, right? because then we're in constant panic mode. And you see so much of that, so much anger, so much frustration, so much blaming and bitterness and cruelty and unkindness and name calling and the whole shebang. And I'm not here to talk about that either because there's a lot of it going on. And you know what I notice? None of it helps. None of it creates long-term sustainable change. None of it seems to really solve problems or make anything better. So what does? Now, I'm going to come down from general governments and society and all that. And the reason I am is because societies change when individuals change. I can't control the society or the government, either in Canada or the US. I can vote, and I do. But I can't individually control them on a macro level. But I don't need to. What I need to do is control them on a micro level, because the thing that I have absolute sovereignty over is who I am being. Now, that word being gets bandied about a lot. What does it even mean? Well, it means my attitude, my beliefs, the lenses I wear, how I see the world. Let me give you some examples. I see the world as a positive place, that there's lots of good and lots of opportunity. I see the world as a creative opportunity, a creative, massive basket of possibility. That's how I choose to see the world. Now, I've been through my share of, illness and death and pains and struggles and failed relationships and bankruptcies and all the things that we all have, different names, but trauma of some kind. And even after that, I choose to see it in this opportunistic way, positively. And I believe and know from my own experience that anything is possible. You can create whatever you want. Now, I realize some people go through this, whatever their sets of circumstances are, and they see everything negatively. Glass half empty, half full kind of thing. And in any problem situation, or most, the feeling is, oh, crap, here's another one. There's no way out of this. Why does this happen to me? That kind of feeling, right? And that's not a lot of fun, and it's certainly not energizing or creative to live that way. What a painful thing. So let's say you really want something different in your life. Well, there's a million ways to do that. People leave a relationship and go try out something new. They leave a job and try out something new. They move to a new neighborhood or a new city. They all kinds of things. They decide they want to go to a seminar. They want more money, so they go to a real estate seminar. They want more insight, so they go to an ayahuasca retreat. And, whatever it is. And the common denominator is I'm looking for something outside of me to slap me around or cuddle me tightly, to do something to spark a change. And that's what people keep looking for. In the internet marketing world, they call that BSO, bright, shiny object. For decades, 2 or 3 decades now at least, anyway. 2 since 2006, 5, 7, when things started really exploding. And even some years before that. BSO, the big, flavor was, let's make money online. Let me show you how to make money. Everybody in the world is going to show everybody how to make money. And the joke was always, I make money by telling you I can help you make money. And I made a boatload of money getting a bunch of people to believe me that I could help them make money. And maybe my method was legit. I'm not even talking about crooks. But we all know that 90-something percent, 95, 97% of people don't implement or finish. So even though the spark was there, I have a friend that I respect, who has gone to some 20 different kinds of retreats. In fact, they have 3 of them that I know that have gone to all kinds of retreats, from jungle retreats, ayahuasca, concerts, 2-day, 3-day, 5-day, 7-day silent meditation retreats, on and on. And hoping, looking for that key, that touch the sky, touch the heaven moment, and expecting that was going to cause the change. And it doesn't. The best that it can do, and there's nothing wrong with this, and I've written 20 books, and I have 24 books, and I hope that every one of the books that I've written can be a spark for someone, that very thing. But the thing that I see all the time, and I used to do this, I'm as guilty of BSO disease as anybody. Buy the next thing when I was first starting as a coach. This certification, that certification, try this method. This will help you get clients over and over again. Different, bright, shiny objects, right? BSOs. Buy this one, buy that one, try this. Oh, this person's done all this. And it's tempting, it's sexy, it's attractive, right? And so we do that, and it doesn't work, and it doesn't work, and it's so frustrating, and then we get jaded and angry and think, crap, either something's wrong with me, I suck, and everybody else is okay, and they're doing it, or the guy's fake, the gal's a charlatan, they're lying, and there's some mix of that. And because I'm optimistic, I tend to think most people are trying to provide something that at least mostly was true and working for them. So what's the problem? What is it? Like, they're not all charlatans, and everybody isn't, it's all me, I suck, and everybody else could do this. I'm not going down that road. I'll tell you what it is, at least what I've discovered. And I rediscover this every day. A couple of days ago, I did a live like this where I was just talking about real life, and I talked about borrowing trouble from the future, borrowing sadness. I woke up and thought I didn't sleep enough. I'm going to be tired later. So I was already uptight about the fact that I was going to be tired later. And then I realized what I was doing, and I had a good laugh and did that. And so I made a decision, I'm not going to do that anymore. Yet this morning, for just a moment, day before yesterday, I did that. Yesterday, I slept really good. So I woke up not thinking that. Today, it's an hour less than I wanted, and that's fine. But I woke up, and I thought again, and then I laughed immediately. I thought, this is that same thing. I'm worried about something that isn't here yet. So what is the process? Well, you can read lots of books on it, but I'm going to tell you 5 elements that I think are necessary and sufficient to cause that long-term sustainable change. It's what I do. I use it all the time. And each of these 5 elements has a name, but how you do each one is completely unique to you because it has to work for you. So step 1, we've already talked about, or part 1, and that is a moment of inspiration. Something about your life, your walk of life, how you're feeling, your own feelings, your heart, your spirit is dissatisfied. It's like, you know what? I'm not okay. Not okay. I can have more, be better. There's something that is not like I want it to be. Now, there's all kinds of reasons for this, and some are valuable and some are not very valuable. One reason for it is, look what everybody else has got, or somebody, I should have more. That isn't a moment of inspiration. It might make you mad and might make you want to change or go do some research or do whatever. That's not going to last. Jealousy or envy is not a good motivation. What is a good motivation is recognizing your own true potential. One of the things that happened to me in the 20 years, almost 20, since 2007, when I changed my whole life, different story, was I became so clear and convinced about our heritage. You and me, we came from a divine creator. Well, that means your DNA is divine, and if your DNA is divine, then your potential is infinite, right? But if my driver is, oh man, I'm behind. Somebody somewhere's got more than me, so I suck somehow. If that's the driver, that doesn't last very long. So what do you do instead? It has to come from in you. You internally, your own spirit, your own heart has to have this feeling of, I am not living up to the truth of my potential. Not because somebody tells you, not because somebody's trying to make you feel bad or is lording it over you or is any of that, but somewhere inside of us, you feel like I can do better than this. I can be better. I can have more. We use different language. Sometimes it's in the language of having. Sometimes it's in the language of doing. Sometimes it's in the language of being or attitude or stance. The most important of all those is how we are being. What we do comes out of who we're being. So being is the most important. But anyway, that moment of inspiration, now that might come from reading a book, maybe one of mine, might come from going to a conference, hearing a talk, might come from a prayer or a meditation or a retreat, a silent meditation retreat, an ayahuasca retreat, whatever it is. Like you have been somewhere or done something that has awakened in you a new sense of possibility, a sense that you are not fully occupying the place you were designed for or have available to you. Moment of inspiration. And we've all had lots of those. Lots of them we ignore. We make excuses and say, I can't do that because not my season, not my time. I don't have the money. I don't have the opportunity. I don't have support. And we list a long list of things. And consequently, the moment of inspiration fades to the back burner and then disappears like yesterday's news. But it's still the first ingredient and nothing happens until, once again, there's a moment of inspiration. The problem comes when we think that's it. We read it, we see it, we hear it, we experience it, we go there, it lands on us like a freight train, or like a feather, or like a pillow full of love. And then life comes back. And so that moment of inspiration doesn't stay with us. The memory does, but the motivation that it created doesn't last. So that's only step one. Now I'm going to briefly list the other four, and tomorrow I'm going to keep going on this because it's going to take, an hour or so to explain. But what I want more than anything is for you to think about what these things that I'm going to share with you mean in your language. I call it a moment of inspiration. You can call it a slap upside the head or a 2x4 or a gentle whisper or an intuition or an inspiration or an answer to prayer or someone that spoke to you or someone you, quote, accidentally met. There are no accidents. So that's it. Moment of inspiration is first. The second piece is a commitment to change, because when those moments of inspiration come, it's like a flash of lightning. They light up the beauty of the sunset, like this beautiful scene behind me. AI's fun for creating all these cool pictures, right? But they wake up this flash, and you see this beautiful landscape and possibility, like this book here. Oh, man, isn't that gorgeous? And so suddenly you see, wow, it could be this way. But the flash of lightning is over. And then what we're left with is a memory of that thing. So step two is a real commitment to change and to create this new scene. So you see this thing, and the next words have to be something like, I am going there. That sunset, I'm going there. I am going there. No matter what it takes, I'm going there. And that's a commitment to create. And we'll talk more about that in the coming days, how to do it, what it means. The third part is a plan for changing, because how I am right now didn't bring me there, right? It brought me to a place where I saw the flash, but I'm not living in this land right now, or I wouldn't be yearning for it. So step three is some kind of a plan to create this change. And step 4, and this might be the most important and the most overlooked, and that is a source of continual power. And what I mean by that is it's a journey. See, there's a path here. It's a journey from where I am to that beautiful place. And it doesn't happen in an instant. And it takes time and effort and energy. And, if you look at that path, it's a long way. I got to hike for a ways. But whatever it is, and if we don't create a process or a source of continual power, we're not going to make it. We're not going to stay engaged, right? It's not going to happen. We're not going to stay on the path, and it'll fade off, interrupted by life. And the 5th one is a process for consistency, because whatever we're doing now aren't the habits and practices that go there. They're the ones that got me where I am. And so I've got to have some kind of a process to consistently operate in the new way. So those are the 5 things. And we've talked today really just about the moment of inspiration, which is like that sun coming over the hill. And I can sit and admire that and just think that's the most beautiful thing in the world. But if I don't create, then right with it, a commitment to create my life that way. And next, some kind of a plan to make it happen and figure out a source of continual power. And last of all, a process for consistency. I'm not going to get there. And so those 5 parts, and you can use different names, but the 5 parts are what make it possible for you to build anything you want. And I live in the world of your ultimate life, purpose, prosperity, and joy every day. But it was a difficult journey and requires the very same 5 things. So today I've talked about the first one. And in the next few days, I'll talk about numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5, because my goal for you, for me, for all of us, is to live the kind of life you want, purpose, prosperity, and joy. You have every capability. And I've made it my life's mission to do that, to reach 300 million people, to create 3,000 millionaires, not just to collect money, but 3,000 people who use their gifts and talents and serve in a way that creates them significant money. And 1 million is just a benchmark. And that's a possibility. So I want you to just marinate in those 5 things for a little bit. Thank you for being with me today, and I'll see you tomorrow.